Yes, here we are once again, live. If you're watching us live, of course, that means, as it always does, it's noon Eastern Time on a Wednesday. It is time for the High Noon Hemp Show. You can find us in many places if you want the video, either live or on demand, of course. Facebook, that's Hemptations Beach. On YouTube, it's Jedi Hemp. And on Twitter, of course, it's at Hemptations. If you want the Podbean show, the podcast, just search the High Noon Hemp Show, Podbean, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Find us on all those platforms, if you will. I am Stoner Jesus. Various things I do on the interwebs can be found through search engines if you feel like it. Beach, he is high above the Hemptations in Sharonville, Ohio at the Hemp Quarters. Beach, how are things this week in the world of Hemptations?
Things are okay. It's January in Cincinnati. So, this is that's usually a little bit of a smaller or slower time of year for us here at Hemptations. Welcome everyone to the High Noon Hemp Show. It's true, it's high noon, it's Wednesday. We are here for your hemp pleasure, as we always are. And I am high above the Sharonville location in the Planet Everywhere Production Studios, I like to call it, which is my desk. I want to remind everyone that the FDA has not evaluated this show for safety or efficacy. I did see somewhere, I guess this isn't really local, I should talk about it in the other news, but I did see again, I did report this, that supposedly the FDA is going to do something about CBD and all these things, and now I'm seeing 100 days. There are 100 days. They should have something decided, and they're going to start dealing with. I think they're going to make a statement. It's going to be interesting to see because I saw stuff about Delta 8. Did we do something wrong?
I screwed up some on Facebook. The video started playing. I'm trying to share the show on other Facebook pages, but now Facebook doesn't let you do that. You have to go to the page. So then the video comes up and it starts playing, and so it's the echo in the background, and it's just a whole thing. It was a whole technical snafu on my part. Sorry, everybody. I will blame Facebook though. They've screwed up things. I used to be able to just share to all of our pages within like 30 seconds. And they have to go to each individual page, and from that page, find the video of the show, share it from there, and it's just a whole hassle. It's too much.
That's about right. I'm surprised things haven't gotten harder on Twitter somehow too, but apparently it's so good. But Facebook is always doing something that ain't right.
Yeah, not being helpful.
So anyway, we'll see what the FDA. Right. We'll see about the FDA and where they are in 100 days. So one way or another. All right. Well, let's just jump right into it here with the product spotlight. 4 from the store, 1 from my door, as I like to say. The first one from the store, again, the Delta 8, very popular. This is the Hemptations. This is what we carry in the Delta 8 in a tincture. People come in and they're like, do you guys have Delta 8? And they're like, yeah, just like every form you can find it in. And the tincture is actually becoming a little bit more popular. The gummies are probably the most popular form of Delta 8. The pens do well, but the tinctures are people are really starting to understand. And again, because that's right into the blood system. Basically, when you use a tincture, it's sublingual. You put it under the tongue. You leave it under the tongue as long as you can, so that soaks in there, and then you can swallow a little bit if you prefer to. But you try to get most of it to go under the tongue because that is one of, if not the quickest way to get it into your system. So we just got a new order from Medterra. So if you are an isolate user, you do not want a full spectrum CBD product, then we that's why we carry Medterra. It is isolate. They're super well priced. Customers love them. From the 500 to the 1,000 to the 3,000. And I haven't added, they have a 6,000 now, and I haven't added that to the shelves, but we probably should, because I'm sure that there's someone out there that could benefit from a 6,000 milligram jar. And again, it's isolate. So there's no THC Delta 9. There's no anything else. It's just CBD in MCT oil. So probably coconut based when it comes to the MCT. That's the most popular. And that just means multi-chain triglyceride, I believe, oil, if I remember correctly, when it comes to MCT, one way or another. But Medterra's for the isolate. We have a decent amount of Medterra regulars because of it being an isolate. So I had a lady come in the other day and she was like, "I need the tincture or the tincture with no THC." That's how she described it. Which is the way a lot of them. When they say no THC, then what they want is an isolate product, just using the CBD isolate. All right. How about the hoodie selection? And then again, this is the hoodie selection that we have in the Sharonville location. So if you're looking for a hoodie, hemp hoodie, or a hoodie period, then come and get a hemp hoodie. We got a decent selection of hemp hoodies in the old Sharonville store, which has the most amount of clothing, period. If you're looking for clothing, you're in the area, you want to come to the location with the most amount of clothing, come to the Sharonville location. And then the last one is this hemp hoodlam tee. It's a very black tee, just says hemp, and that's from a art installation, I believe, kind of mock up on the hemp. And so we love our hemp hoodlam stuff, and there's a good selection of sizes of this particular tee, once again in the Sharonville location. If you're going to another location and you're looking for this tee and we don't have your size there, have them call up here and see if we do. We'll try to get it there for you, one way or another. All right. Well, there's 4 from the store on the product spotlight. Now, the one from my door, how about a lectern? You ever seen a hemp lectern before? Because here is a hemp lectern. We built this years and years ago. I believe that originally we built it for my being open for 20 years speech when we celebrated our 20th anniversary, which would have been 2015. 2015, we celebrated our 20-year anniversary. That's crazy to say. But we actually built a hemp stage. You might be called that a podium. The podium is something I think you stand on. Lectern, we built the lectern. I had a hemp curtain basically behind me. Everything was hemp. And then I gave approximately a 20-minute speech on being open for 20 years. Somewhere, I suppose I have that speech on film. I don't know. I don't know if it got filmed or not, to be honest with you, oddly enough. But that was kind of fun. So there's the hemp lectern. I think it's upstairs here now at the Funitorium, as we call it, here in Sharonville as well. Part of my personal hemp collection. So there you have it. 4 from the store, 1 from my door on the product spotlight here on the High Noon Hemp Show. And now,
a lot of stuff for the coming Hemptations Museum one day, the Museum of Hemp or whatever it will be called, with many wings, many products, many things to go look at. It'll be awesome. It is time now, of course, for the beachwear segment. Beach, not very dressed for the beach today. The weather is still, what the weather is in Cincinnati. Very unpredictable, very gloomy today, a little on the chilly side. So what is Beach wearing today? Well, that's a simple thing to find out because whenever I ask him, he tells me. When I ask, what are you wearing, Beach?
I want to call this outfit 50 Shades of Green. Got a lot of green on today. So if you're curious, what are you wearing, Beach? now you'll know it's a decent amount of green. So on top there, I actually have two hats. I've been talking about breaking out my winter hats, and so I've got the hemp hood lamb winter hat. It's got the furry flaps. It snaps underneath if you need it to. Super, super nice and thick and warm. Underneath that hat, I have my cap, so to speak, my baseball hat, as I usually wear almost every day, and that's a Patagonia. That's right, Patagonia hat, made with. I don't know if they locally sourced some of the hemp for the hats. I do know that Patagonia makes stuff, and some of it is grown here in the United States. The hoodie. How about a Two Jupiters hoodie? Breaking out some old Two Jupiters clothing too that I haven't worn in a long time. Two Jupiters probably as a company. I don't think they exist anymore. I don't know if they've existed in a long time. But these are super thick hoodies, probably the thickest hemp hoodies I have ever seen. I need to check the label again to see if they're. I would assume they're 100% hemp, but I'm not positive on that. But again, super thick and warm. Much needed on this chilly day here in Cincinnati. Underneath that, I have my Young Maven Hemptations University printed here at the Planet Everywhere printing facilities at one point or another. And then my pants, you can see, are being held up by a Hempy's belt. My pants themselves are actually Orvis, big company Orvis. In the pocket there, as always, you can see the Green Springs Technology pen always in my pocket. My briefs are breaking out an old pair of, and I'm just thinking to myself, I should have worn the green ones, not the natural colored ones, because I do have these in green too. I don't know what I was thinking today. Pair of head case, good old pair of head case boxers from back in the day. Hemp Authority socks. Hemp Authority for a while there, and I hope they're still at least on eBay or out there to buy stuff. Had really good, neat sock collection, neat little bag collection. And so these are kind of a thicker hemp sock, and then a pair of Nikes on the old feet. So there you have it. If you were wondering how many different shades of green can Beach wear, green and brown, I suppose. The pants and the hat are, one of my hats is brown. The other hat is. There are a lot of shades of green that I have. Not the greenest of outfits, but maybe that's a challenge. Wear all green. See just how many different colors of green I can get. And there you have it, folks. What are you wearing, Beach? Green on a day like today. I don't know why that really matters. I should wear more green. I do wear a lot of green. All right, well, let's get to some news. Got some, as always, a menagerie of news topics. Again, I do want to reiterate that the FDA is supposed to be speeding up its process for CBD and possibly some other industrial hemp byproducts, food products, drink products, liquids. I don't know how that would be categorized. So we can move forward one way or another. I mean, one way or another. 9 breakfast superfoods to eat for your most productive day. Of course, hemp is number 5 on the list. Again, the protein to get you going, the omega-6, omega-3s, essential fatty acids. I read something where they believe that omega-3 at least is an anti-inflammatory. So that's going to help in that direction. You have a multitude of minerals, and vitamins, and things like that to keep you moving throughout the day when it comes to hemp food. Um, Speaking of hemp food, not legal in Singapore. So these chips, and again, I don't know. I'm interested to see. Um, I don't really see any hemp in the picture on the package. It says hemp right there on the label, but apparently these were pulled from vending machines in Singapore. The Singapore official was quoted as saying, "Hemp comes from cannabis sativa, and cannabis sativa is illegal, or all cannabis sativa is illegal. So therefore, ipso facto, all hemp in any form is illegal in Singapore." And so, we're seeing a lot of Asian countries all of a sudden, doing some really weird stuff when it comes to hemp. CBD is as much like a hard drug in Hong Kong now. Singapore coming out and saying nothing hemp. Apparently, no hemp products are legal in Singapore. So we'll see how this all plays out. Is it miseducation? Was it CBD? And is that the issue? Were they adding CBD to these snacks and calling it hemp, or was it just hemp seed? I don't, there's some more questions, but one way or another, cannabis sativa is not legal in Singapore and apparently not in food form either. So we'll see how that goes over there. Singapore and the United States military now have something in common. Who would have ever thought that? They're both ignorant to hemp, true hemp. Ignorant. It is ignorance. There's no doubt about it. How about a Scots firm secures $2 million investment to speed up its growth at its hemp insulation factory? And this is Indie Nature over in Scotland, I assume. Getting, again, hemp insulation is, I know it's big, huge in France. Now, again, because I think of its natural properties, which is something that a lot of Europeans believe in more than other things, I think it's becoming super popular all over Europe. And again, because it can be made from any hemp. So even if you're growing for CBD, you can take that CBD stalk and turn that into hemp insulation. I don't know how much of that byproduct is out there as far as CBD byproduct, but one way or another, we need to be focusing on that, using CBD biomass for whatever purposes that we can use it for to make hemp products from. It's just, I cannot, and I keep saying it until everybody's on board, I suppose. Because it's just, it is what the industry needs to move towards regardless. And that's the marijuana industry too. And because you can do the same thing with what they call marijuana stalk. Again, there shouldn't be any THC. We can do all the testing we need to reaffirm the fact that there's no THC in it, and then use that stalk for industrial purposes, whether it's animal bedding, insulation, concrete mix, making clothing. It doesn't matter. Even the root, if they pulled it up by the root, could have some benefit somewhere, somehow, some way. So utilizing the whole plant is the whole thing. And obviously, once again, this market is growing over in Europe, um, because this company needed a huge investment to speed up the growth to keep up with the demand. It's all about supply and demand. Apparently, the demand is there. The supply must be there, and so they need this plant to process more, to make more insulation. So, and again, we're seeing more of that here in the United States as well. So it's really kind of a worldwide. We're just seeing more worldwide movement towards, especially hemp and construction. Um, it's a huge topic. It's very popular. Um, Dezeen magazine, which is where I see a lot of hemp constructions, just did an article showing, and you'll recognize some of these. But these are 9 construction sites, and I've talked about probably over the last year or so. I've shown these 9 construction sites, and so start in the top left corner. That's the Voice of Urban Nature. I've showed that one a couple times. That's the one in Amsterdam, where they used hempcrete on the wall panels. And so this is actually a walled-in nature kind of preserve that they did, and it was all done with locally sourced means, whether it was the plants inside or the hempcrete, was all locally sourced. Right beside that one, to the right there in the top middle, you have the flat house. And I've showed the flat house a little bit. That one's in the UK somewhere. And again, this is the flat house is just someone's personal home. Again, we're seeing a lot more of that being done as far as for environmental reasons. When I say cleanliness, antimicrobial, antibacterial, environmental reasons, hempcrete is more sustainable and just as strong, but actually lighter than concrete. So, utilizing those principles. The building beside that is the Pierre Chevette, which is a building in France. It's, I believe, a public building, like gyms. It's got gym, and it's a huge, huge building. One of the bigger buildings that have used hempcrete in the building structure. And I have focused on that on the show. I think when it was done, I showed pictures of that big public facility. So obviously safe. They feel it's safe to work with, especially in France. If you go down to the middle left-hand picture of the big building, okay, that is that's the Marx Dorme social housing building. And again, that was the building in the article about that building that I talked about on the show. The people that live there said it stays cool in the winter, cool in the summer, warm in the winter. Heating and cooling bills are not as expensive because hempcrete is also a very good insulator on itself. So it's going to keep the warm in when you want it to. It's going to keep the cool in when you want it to. And again, one of the largest right now, if not largest, hempcrete buildings in the world. And once again, this is, I believe it's like public housing. So it's very inexpensive housing, possibly provided by the French government, whom chose to build the building out of hemp to begin with. Again, brilliant. There's a lot of hemp in France. I've told you guys before, France is the only industrialized country as far as we know, that never stopped growing hemp ever for not a year, 10 years or whatever, all around the planet. And they still use a lot of hemp in France. And again, with a lot of rebuilds and things, they want hempcrete because it's more of a natural substances they would have used a long time ago, 1,000 years ago, possibly. Again, there's a 600-year-old hemp. It's got the butts of the bridge are made out of hempcrete. It still stands and looks just as good as it ever did. The middle home is the Enhad House, and this is in Israel. And I believe this is a shared dwelling, if I remember correctly. And I forget how it was, and it might just be one family. I don't know that lives in this house in Israel. Super neat layout, in all honesty. But once again, the structure, the walls. I don't know about the foundation. We're still going back and forth as far as using hempcrete as a foundation. But as far as the walls, all of that is hemp. In the middle, on the right there, is the Garardbergen house. And that is in Belgium. And I think that's just, again, somebody's personal dwelling that they used hemp to do, one way or another. The bottom left-hand corner, and I've shown this. This is an art installment, actually, called Alyssa and the 11 Swans. And this is in Denmark, and I did have this on the show when this was first released as well. But all the fabric on this particular art installment is made out of industrial hemp. And it's all based on a story called the Alyssa and the 11 Swans, which I don't really know anything else. The Tigan tiny helm in the middle there on the bottom. I've talked about that. Those are being built in Ireland. And then this is kind of interesting. I didn't know anything about these buildings, but this on the bottom corner in the right there, that building that's called the Clay Fields, and it's in the UK. And this was actually 26 homes that were built back in 2008 using hempcrete or hemp construction. And so definitely one of the older, if not the one of the oldest full dwellings that I know of. And again, there's a lot of, I think, hempcrete that has been used over the years in Europe, and they just, obviously haven't made as big of a deal with it because there's probably some companies over there that's just second nature. That's what they use. That's what they build with. And hopefully it's more and more, which I think it should be, no doubt about it, one way or another. So that's a nice little. I'm going to use the word menagerie again. A little hemp menagerie of construction examples, which is fun. Right from construction to recipe. How about the good old shake recipe? You just want to make yourself a easy peasy little hemp shake there. It's pretty simple. Banana, blueberries, hemp powder, coconut milk blended up. Bim, bam, boom. There you have it. And again, you can add either whole hemp seed straight to just about any shake and blend it up, or hemp shake protein powder, or shake powder, so to speak, which you can find you should be able to find at just about any grocery store. To any shake, if you make yourself shakes on a regular basis, you can do this. It's pretty easy peasy. How about a recipe for date and ginger immunity balls? That's what it says. Uh, bring up your immune system, I suppose. It sounds
Right.
weird. It just sounds weird. Um, but again, I think these are pretty simple stuff there. Put it together, roll it in a ball. I think put it in the fridge for a little while or something. And once again, healthy, good snack that includes some hemp. So we'll leave that up there if you want to take a, screenshot of this one. I think the shake recipe is pretty simple. For anybody that makes shakes, it's easy. This one's a little more complicated. It's got just more ingredients in it, but it's actually not as. It's pretty simple as far as the steps go. One way or another, and once again, healthy. You want to eat healthy foods. You don't have to be on a diet. You just want to have a healthy diet, so to speak. That's what I've always said. Don't be on a diet. Just have a good diet, one way or another. California is looking to fill a vacancy in their Industrial Hemp Advisory Board. Now, I guess whoever left the board just couldn't wait till May, because normally this is a 3-year position, but I think whoever left, their term was up in May. And so, it may just be temporary until you're appointed in May, or maybe it's going to be a 3-year term. I don't know. But if you're in California, you're in the hemp industries, you want to be a part of the Industrial Hemp Advisory Board, which is probably a good thing. I think they only meet from what I saw, maybe once a year or something. Which I think the way things are always changing with industrial hemp, I think it seems they should meet more, but I don't know how it all works out. I don't know. But if you're in California, you might be interested. Get a hold of. I want to say this was something that was a part of the California Food and Drug Administration or something. I'm not positive. And that is definitely, if you're in, industrial hemp and you have anything to do with food or drinks, you want to be on the advisory board if it's like a sub board of the food and beverage. California just okayed CBD for food and beverage, but there's with the FDA what they're doing. It's still some controversial things going on there, one way or another. So it might be a good time to be involved in the hemp advisory board in California, one way or another. The company behind Epidiolex is suing 12 companies for patent infringement. So this is going to be kind of interesting to see. Epidiolex is the only FDA-approved CBD drug. It is, I believe, an inhaler. And so I would only guess that somehow if you're developing an inhaler, they're going to say that you're using their technology, but I'm sure there's different ways. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see exactly. And this is here we go. What I always believed would be the issue when it comes to the FDA approving any CBD products as an official drug, so to speak. Because, all right, so you develop FDA approves your tincture for something, whatever it may be. Say blood pressure medicine. I don't know. Whatever. You get approval. FDA, you've done all the testing. FDA approves your tincture for or whatever. All of a sudden, everybody else who makes a tincture, and there's only a couple different bases that we use. There's only a couple different ways to do it. All of a sudden, everybody that's using that system may be in violation of your FDA drug. And I do believe that, again, I assume that, again, they have a patent on their process of making Epidiolex. And so, therefore, um, they can sue anybody that's using that same process to make a similar product. And, I don't know. Again, it might be the tincture might be a bad example because there's so many tinctures out there. It's like gummies. I think of gummies. There are so many gummy based over the counter, and I'm just talking about going to your local drugstore, and you can take your vitamin E gummy, your kids gummies, your adult gummies. The gummy is a form to ingest a lot of different health beneficial substances, so CBD included. All of a sudden, somebody gets a patent on a CBD gummy. How does that work?
Yeah.
How does that work? If it's possible, and so it's going to be interesting to see the outcome of this particular lawsuit for sure, and how this really opens up the industry in a scary way. And I'm surprised that these companies that have these huge amount of monies aren't trying to file for this stuff anyway. All of a sudden, and it is kind of interesting. Like I'm just thinking about our certain, some of this, because I really do think you might have to prove first in use. So even if you had a patent for something, but if the company can prove they were doing this system before you applied for your patent, I don't know if that protects you in first in use laws. Like first in use laws are meant to protect people. In these situations, you're making something and then someone else patents it, but you can prove that you were making it before. I don't know who gets protected there because it should be the first in use person, one way or another. So I don't know. This is going to be an interesting one to watch to see how this affects the CBD industry. Obviously, in my head, I can't see 12 different companies making a CBD inhaler, but there might be 12 companies out there that make a CBD inhaler, and that's where this patent comes from. Is the patent covering the actual FDA approved medicine? Is it protecting the CBD and the form that it's in the inhaler? Because then that's a whole nother thing. As to if other people are using that same process, then that's gonna be interesting to see how that affects things legally. They didn't give the list of 12 companies. I didn't see it yet, but this is definitely going to be one to be watching in the CBD industry to see how this all shakes out. And it's not like I didn't see it coming, and I'm almost surprised, honestly, that it's taken them so long because Epidiolex was approved by the FDA at least 3 years ago. Yeah. Because I want to say it was approved shortly after we went on the air. Yeah. Because I vaguely remember, I remember it was either already legal and I talked about it from the very beginning, or it had just gotten approved when we started airing the High Noon Hemp Show 3 years ago or so. So, it's kind of interesting that it's actually taken this long for them to go after people. So again, we'll see how that all shakes out in the world of CBD pharmaceuticals and CBD over the counter. Because I've always said we had an inhaler. We had an inhaler here that we sold for a while. We didn't sell a lot of them, so I just kind of stopped selling them. That was just as strong or stronger than the Epidiolex inhaler for about a tenth of the price.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, and that's in my head why I thought from the beginning, of course, the makers of Epidiolex, which all in all, the company is GW Pharmaceuticals, we know about, been around for a while, but it's actually owned by Jazz Pharmaceuticals. So Jazz Pharmaceuticals is who owns the patent overall for the Epidiolex. And so they're the ones suing these 12 companies that are apparently doing something similar or the same as Epidiolex, which is, again, something we had. We had that product on the shelves. I knew of at least one company that was making a CBD inhaler. So, once again, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out in the courts and how it's going to affect the whole industry. Because then all of a sudden everybody's going to be filing for these patents, and if they get approved, then all of a sudden we're going to be seeing some serious legal battles as to who can make CBD products or not, which you just can't see. Again, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out one way or another. The experts. We love our experts, right? Experts are are saying the value of hemp apparel, the hemp apparel market, is going to reach $10 billion by 2028. I feel like that would be super awesome. But I also see that the entire hemp industry is predicted to be $18 billion by 2028. So that means really the hemp apparel market is really reaching for the stars when it comes to their prediction, which is great. Again, would love to see that. But I find it hard to believe that the grain industry and the CBD industry is only going to be $8 billion in 2028. So, these are just predictions on where the market is and where it's going, obviously, and all these things. But I do like to see that the prediction is a huge advancement in the amount of money being used in the hemp apparel market. Again, this is something that we've been pushing for now for almost 28 years. We'll be celebrating our 28th anniversary this fall. So for 27 and a half or so years, and again, when we opened, the clothing industry is really the fiber industry is who we were wanting to change for the most part. The food industry didn't come along until the early 2000s, and then the food industry came along, and that was really it. Until hemp was legalized in 2014, the industries that we were really pushing to want to see the advancements in the production in was the clothing industry, the fiber industry, and the food industry. And again, more and more food being made, more and more clothing being made. And then CBD came along and took over the entire industry. Basically, or controlled, you didn't control, but was a big part of the industry here in the United States. And so, uh, now we're getting to the CBD is leveling out, and more farmers and producers and manufacturers are getting behind the fiber industry, getting behind the grain industry. And, I've always said, and it's always been the number one when I give my speech and I go through the reasons to use hemp, the number one reason has always been food. Food, because that's worldwide. Everyone on the planet, everyone on the planet can benefit from hemp food. I don't care where you live, what you're doing. Eating hemp food is a great idea. It's a great idea. Now we can, I might add therapeutic value as number two, moving up ahead of the fiber, only because I do think that CBD is an important natural benefit to so many people. So many people have benefited from CBD, and now Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10, THCO, THCP, all these things. CBN and CBG, I should mention those first, because CBD, CBN, and CBG are the top three, because once again, there's nobody that they can't benefit. There's no euphoric value to it. But there is plenty of therapeutic value, as our customers have found over the years. So, it's just, and then fiber clothing would be right after that, because again, clothing is important to most everyone on the planet. Using cotton is a terrible idea for clothing, and so. That one not only benefits the consumer because it's stronger, longer lasting, environmentally friendly, but it also benefits the planet. Okay, that's I guess the first one where food for grain doesn't really benefit the planet a whole lot. It benefits humanity a huge amount. Growing for CBD, that doesn't really benefit the planet a lot, but it helps humanity hugely. Growing for clothing or fiber, that helps the planet immensely, and also benefits humanity. And then that's where we kind of see the crossover as to, if we use it for construction, that benefits the planet immensely and also benefits humanity as far as housing goes. And so it covers all of the human essentials. This one plant covers all the human essentials: food, medicine, clothing, housing. You can get all of that from industrial hemp. And so, we're just now seeing the potential of all of those things in the industry, because the stigma is going away, and the education and the production and the proof. When we opened up, I said, I just wanted people to look at the pair of jeans, look at the shirt, look at the thing of shampoo or whatever, and realize this is no threat to the American way in any form. It should have never been taken out of the hands of our farmers. Now that we've seen it return to our farmers, now is when we're going to see the true potential of what it can do in all its forms. What used to be a hippie thing is now just a kind of no-brainer thing. I mean, I don't understand why it was a bad thing to make clothing out of a plant that required no herbicides or pesticides, and it had to be hippie clothing. Just because we were touting its environmental benefits doesn't make it any less clothing. It was like, to me, I never really understood that. It's like, I'm telling you, you can make a shirt that's so much better for you and the planet. It's got nothing to do with hippies. In all honesty, you can associate it with whatever you want to. It's just a logical human move to want a better, softer, cleaner fabric. And the benefit is we just get a cleaner planet. We don't even have to talk about that fact. The key is convincing people of the why they want hemp as a fiber. And there's, the education is easy. And then once you do, it's like, wow, okay, well, yeah, I want a hemp shirt. But then you go look at a hemp T-shirt, and because we haven't been making them regularly for the last 100 years, they're expensive. There aren't as many people making them. And so we still have a way to go, honestly. I see that being 10 years. I wouldn't predict anything less than 10 years of being able to walk into any department store and getting a cheap T-shirt, going online and getting an inexpensive hemp shirt. We're getting there every day, but it's still a balancing act. And that's why that's the big argument, I think, against hemp. And the one they're still trying to use is, why just go buy yourself a cotton T-shirt? They're so much cheaper, and look how many there are in the world. Billions of them. The people that want to protect that industry are going to be saying that, and it's up to us, the consumer, to say, but guess what? I want a better shirt. I want a longer lasting shirt. I want a cleaner shirt. I don't want a shirt that uses a third of all the chemicals on the planet to be grown, made out of something that a third of all the chemicals on the planet are used to be grown. That's a terrible idea. There is no clean cotton. Don't let them convince you of that. There is no such thing, unless it's just organic cotton. If it's described as organic cotton, then it's clean. But if it just says cotton, it is not clean. Or they would call it organic cotton. One way or another. So the numbers keep going up. We keep showing them. So let's stick with that ideology there, folks. And thanks for watching the High Noon Hemp Show. We hope we keep stirring you in the right direction. That's for sure.
Indeed.
One way or another. So no questions. NOCO is really about the only event I saw out there worth talking about it. So once again, that's the end of March 29th through the 31st. And that's going to be at the Broadmoor Resort out in Colorado Springs. And then if you really want to plan for something, you can start planning for the Southern Hemp Expo, which is going to be in August. So check that out. Not too much really kind of nationally out there on the hemp side of things as far as events going on right now. So, and I don't think I have any questions. And my thoughts were clearly a part of the show. So thanks everybody for watching. Remember, reduce, reuse, recycle. Make everything else out of hemp. Having Hemptations.
See you all next week.